distinct honor of introducing our next speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, fellow patriots, it is my profound honor to introduce a towering figure in American military leadership and in national security. A man whose unwavering commitment to duty, strategic brilliance, and unyielding defense of freedom have left an indelible remark on our nation. Please welcome retired General Michael T. Flynn, born on December 24th, 1958 in Middletown, Rhode Island. Embodied a scrappy, resilient spirit of service from an early age. At 1977, graduate of Middletown High School, later the University of Rhode Island in 1981. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant in military intelligence, launching a distinguished 33-year career in the United States Army that propelled him to the rank of lieutenant general. Throughout his service, General Flynn became a global authority on counterterrorism, intelligence, commanding elite forces in Afghanistan and Iraq, and as a defense intelligence agency from 2012 to 14. Sir, we honor your service. We are truly grateful for your service after service, leading America's future, and also defending our present. So we are so grateful to have you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody take a deep breath, right? Where's the media at? Because the media was sneaky outside. I didn't mean to get upset outside, but don't be sneaky. Don't be sneaky. Just, if you have something that you want to ask the question. Don't be sneaky with cameras and little mics that you hang over somebody's head or up somebody's backside, right? Gee whiz, Don't be. We have to be. God, one of the things we have to be is so brutally honest and transparent these days, because there's such a significant loss of trust. There's so much loss of trust, not just here in the United States, it's a loss of trust globally between the people that just want to be free and the governments that they are being served by, particularly here in the United States of America. And it is wonderful to have President Donald J. Trump in the White House these days. Yeah, big time. Amazing that Miss Maria Cachado, who was given the Nobel Peace Prize yesterday, dedicated it to President Trump. It's amazing. If you don't know that, she did that. It's amazing. So I know that there's people out, some people out in the overflow as well. There's actually room in here, right? Like, nobody ever likes to come to the front of the church because they're afraid they're going to get grabbed to say something or to volunteer for something, right? And then, of course, you get all these reserve seats, and it's like, where are these people, right? So I sometimes come into these types of events and I don't know exactly what it is that I'm going to say. But what I will say, a couple of things. As I stand up here and contemplate where the United States of America is in this sort of timeline of history that we are facing, and as we look into the future where we might be if we don't get involved in our, if we don't take the responsibility as citizens of the United States of America to get involved in our own communities. Everybody comes up to me, like these beautiful women that are right back here, and I love these ladies that came from Japan. Everybody comes up to me all the time and says, can you get this to President Trump, right? They give me something, get this to President Trump. And I'm very polite, and I'll be very, yes, no problem, we'll figure something out, whatever the issue is. But my response to everybody these days is, what are you doing wherever you're at, right? You got these great, the tents that are outside here trying to sell their wares or whatever, trying to promote their ideas, Gun Owners of America or the National Rifle Association or some churches that are out there representing and trying to raise a few bucks. what we have to do as people, as citizens, is stop worrying about what you cannot control. Okay? You have to stop worrying about what you cannot control. That is a lesson in leadership. Okay? Somebody would come to me all the time. Soldiers, whatever service, they would come to me and they would try to say, hey, this is a problem, that's a problem. And I'm like, what are you doing about it?
Hey, Skylar, how are you?
What are you doing about it? And they would say, well, you know, then they'd start to tell me the things that they could actually do to try to fix it. And I would say, well, are you doing that? And they would say, yes. And I'd say, what are the things that you cannot control? I can't control this. I can't control that. And I would say, okay, let me take those pieces and you go back and you do your responsible things. You do the things that you can control, right? Instead of always complaining, right? Always complaining. I mean, I grew up in a very tough family, and both my parents are deceased now, but if you came to my mother and you complained, she would throw you right out the door. My father, you'd never complain to. And so we complain a lot in this country. We complain a lot, and that's okay to complain, but every so often you got to figure out what are you doing about it to fix it. Right? And people, and even today, and I love this every time people do this to me all the time, and they'll come up to me and they'll say, thank you for your service, right? I know that there's a whole bunch of veterans in here today, right, that are here. That's great. You know, and they come up and they say, you know, my father served, my grandfather served, my uncle served, or I served here or there, and that's great. But particularly people that come up to me, and lots, I mean, this is all over the country, and they'll say, thank you for your service. And I'm like humbled by that. It's very humbling to have, and to reflect on what I have done personally, speaking for myself in my life, and the service that I know that it wasn't a matter of whether or not, you know, I wanted to do that. If you were in my family, you were going to do it. You were going to serve in some capacity, whether it was in uniform or in your community. And that's the way that I like to turn the conversations around with people in the United States today, is how are you serving? How are you serving your country? Right? And that includes the people that are here from overseas too. It's like, how are you serving your country? Right? Because I know there's many countries, and we're in this competition globally, and I can talk about it right here in the United States. We're in this global competition between basically what you can call a multipolar world and a unipolar world, or the idea of nationalism. Not, you know, what I've been called 1,000 times a fascist, a Nazi, all this crap, right? Because they don't know what those words mean, right? Ism is the belief in something. It's the belief in something. That's what ism is. It's the belief in something. Nation is the belief in nation, right? I'm a patriot. I love our country. You know, people want to say, what do you believe in? I say, I believe in my country, right? What people will use, and you know, media, but media is a conduit. Media is just a weapon system that the left uses. It's a tool. The media is a tool, especially the sort of the left-leaning media. These ideas of other isms, right? Socialism, fascism, Marxism, communism, imperialism. Those are beliefs in something that has a very clear definition, right? And we hear the term populism these days, populism, right? Trump is a populist type of president because he came out of sort of nowhere, I mean, to a degree out of nowhere. I mean, he was well known in the world of TV and other things that he did, but he came out of nowhere politically. And believe me, folks, there's on both sides, the whole gamut of the political establishment, which is not just Democrats and Republicans and left and right. These are people, they don't like him. They don't like him because he's come in to a place that he wasn't invited. Okay? He wasn't invited in. It's like he shows up. You know, he comes down the escalator, and you know, here we are after not just coming down the escalator in the summer of 2015. Here we are 10 years later. We're a decade of struggle, and this struggle has been going on for a long time. And I won't get into a long history lesson about about why or where the kinds of things that have been happening, right, to our country for a long time, post-World War II for sure.
No, move down.
For sure.
Paul, just move.
Okay, these are not like made-up theories or whatever they call, the conspiracy theory nonsense, right? And speaking of nonsense, I am so beyond the nonsense stage of my life. Okay, I'm at a point now where it's like, you want to know my opinion? Ask me, and I will tell you. That's why I say to the media, right? I mean, media does this. These guys are just doing it, I mean, they'll do this. You'll be in a crowd, because they're waiting to see if you say something that they can then use or turn or whatever, Let's quit like being sneaky, not just the media. Let's quit with this whisper of, geez, I don't know if I can do that because they might come after me. They might say something nasty in the headlines, or maybe somebody down at work will do this or that. I mean, we have to be honest with each other. We have to be brutally honest as a nation about where we're at. And trust me, like Reagan's the one that everybody remembers, for those that are of age, that remember, a speech he gave about we're one generation away from losing everything, right? Well, that generation has already come and gone, okay? Now we're one presidency away. Okay, we're not one generation anymore. We're one presidency. So when everybody goes, and like was just said, a year ago we weren't sure where we were going to be. Now we're like, we can take a deep breath. That's what I say. Take a deep breath, right? And it's good to do that. This beautiful air that you have out here, right? Take a nice deep breath of that beautiful air that's out there, and not just let the oxygen basically, I don't know, just make your body feel like so good, but think about what it is that we're doing here as a nation. Think about what it is that the direction that we are going, because we are one president away from losing everything still. These people, and he's like juggling balls all the time, right? And these people, on the 26th of November of last year, of 2024, the 26th of November, had he lost that election, he'd be in prison for the rest of his life. Right now, 26th November was his sentencing date for this foolishness in the city of New York that he went through. It was like whatever, 700 years or something, right? I mean, it's crazy. So we're not dealing with normal times. We're not dealing with, we can take a deep breath and everything's going to be fine now. That Donald Trump is the president of the United States. And that man is working hard, not just for the people of this country, but for the entire world. He really is. I mean, he really, really is. When you hear about the things that he's doing on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis, all these world leaders, all these different things, the last 24 hours, if you're paying attention to, if you watch his social media, he's probably the most transparent president we've ever had. He'll tell you exactly how he thinks. He'll tell you how he thinks about China, right? I mean, you just see the tariff thing, right? I mean, because when we talk about threats, which is something that I understand, and I deeply, deeply understand the threats that we are facing. The existential threat, the threat that can actually take our country down, is not on the other side of the Pacific or not on the other side of the Atlantic. It's right here. It's right here. I call it, we refer to it as the deep state. The deep state, which, came into vogue in the 2016 campaign, not by President Trump. He didn't make that phrase up. It came from the people. It came from the people of the, somebody made it up and started chanting it at one of the rallies then. Right? But it's this axis of resistance inside of our government. And it's not, you guys know this, it's not just in Washington, D.C., right? It's not. It's right here in our school boards. It's right here in our town councils. It's right here in our city councils. It's right here in our county, our county commissioners, right? I mean, so it's not like, this is why I get back to this idea of control, right? You can't can't control what Donald Trump is going to tweet out at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I love it. That's why I never sleep, because I'm waiting for that, right? I'm waiting for it. I'm like, yes, tell these SOBs, go pound sand, right? Tell the Chinese, look, we're watching you. Because there are threats that do come from external. But the most egregious existential threat that we face in this country today is right here. Right here. And an element of that threat is the lack of trust. Okay, that is an element, that is a condition of the threat that we face. Okay? And there's criteria that we are looking for as Americans from our government, from our leaders, and again, not just at the federal level, but at every level. We set criteria like, are you going to take action on this particular bill, right? I mean, one of the things that I do as well is I go around this nation to raise people's awareness about child sex trafficking, okay? You know how hard it is to get politicians to even talk about that? And I wonder why. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's a criteria for me that I go around to see. I want people to take action, because if we don't protect children, what the hell, what do we live for, right? So we have conditions in this country, and one of those conditions is the lack of trust between the people, like you and I, and our government. And it doesn't make any difference whether it's local, state, or local, county, right, state, or federal. It doesn't make any difference. That lack of trust is very, very real. And that becomes a condition of trust, of threat that we have to, we're all trying to restore that, right? When you see some of these people that are doing things in Washington, D.C. to indict some of these people, all that, that's wonderful. And somebody asked me the other day, am I messing this up? Okay. Somebody asked me the other day on one of these big podcasts, they said, okay, you must feel great about Jim Comey being indicted, right? And I'm like, it actually breaks my heart that we have gotten to this point in the United States of America. It is so disheartening for me as a guy who has spent his life. I was born on an Army base. I knew I was going to go in the Army from the time I could walk, or I knew I was going to go in the military. I almost joined the Marine Corps. Any Marines in here? All right, I won't hold that against you. But, so, for a guy that has had a life of service, and I know what service and I know what sacrifice is, to look at the condition of our country and to think that we have people that are being indicted who are supposed to be leaders in different levels of government, and we're looking, and you all know what I'm talking about, because in your own local areas, you got the same issues. You have the same exact issues. It's corruption, At the end of the day, and this is where I'm a believer, it's good versus evil.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Yes.
One time I spoke at an event a long time ago, but this actually comes from a woman who wrote me a letter a long time ago when I was going through all my persecution. It's like I'm being persecuted. I'm thinking, man, this is really something. That this is happening. That's why it breaks my heart that our country is like this. Now, there's good things, there's great things that are happening out there, but they're transactional. Okay, that means that they have a time limit, and that time limit is because we have a decent leader right now leading our country, right? Everybody's got governors and mayors and stuff like that. If you have a good, decent leader, I don't care what party they are, as long as they love our country, right? Honestly, I really don't. I really don't, because this is not about Democrats and Republicans. This is about, it's about leaders who decide to get involved in our country and say, look, something is wrong. Something is wrong. There is a set of conditions in our country, threats now, that that we're having to deal with. Like it or not, it's the way it is. So, what we want is we want these things to kind of go away. Well, they're not going to go away. because the stats for voting in this country are abysmal. They are abysmal. Okay? Even for the president, even for elections to president of the United States on presidential election years, we have not broken nationally for like the last 10 presidential elections. We have not broken 70%. Okay, so that means that it's actually more than 30% of people who can vote, who are registered to vote, and who are legitimately voters. It's actually about 33% do not vote, right? And that's during a presidential year. That's during a presidential year. Never mind these off-cycle elections, which we got one coming up in 2026. You have school board races that are not even in the normal cycle sometimes. You have these special elections going on around the country. I don't know if you got anything going on in Pennsylvania right now. I was just down in Tennessee a week ago for a special election for a guy running for Congress, and I think there's over 1 million people in this district that could vote, and they had like 40,000 that came out. It's terrible, folks, okay? So when somebody says, man, those guys, those people there, those guys, I'm like, did you vote? And they're like, well, I don't do that, I don't do that politics stuff. No, our entire life, everybody, when somebody says to me, now I'm going to get a little emotional and passionate. When somebody says to me that I don't do politics, I don't get involved in politics, do you pay your taxes? Yeah. Okay, if you pay taxes, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't get involved in politics, right? But if you pay taxes, and you're paying a tax when you go buy a pack of cigarettes or when you go buy a gallon of gas, you're paying taxes. So whether you pay your taxes once a year, you're paying taxes at some point. And when you're paying taxes, you are involved in politics. So every single of-age person in this country, every adult in this country, is in politics, like it or not. And so if you're in politics, which you all are, then how are you participating in that discourse, right? In that discourse. I'm thinking of a guy by the name of Thomas Paine, okay, who today, or certainly under the Biden, under the former administration, would have been declared a domestic terrorist, okay, seriously. Because Thomas Paine, the British were after him desperately because he was writing and putting things out to the populations at the time, right? If you never read Common Sense, go read it, right? George Washington took a document that Thomas Paine wrote, because it was so powerful of a document, and he said to all of his leaders, in the colonies, we didn't have a country under George Washington until we finally had one, right? So these are guys that said, enough is enough, right? And he took a document from Thomas Paine because it was so powerful, and he said to all his leaders, I want every single person who's part of our team, part of our militia, I want you to read it to them, because most of them couldn't read. I want you to read it to them, because it talked about summer soldiers, right? Fair weather friends, right? And you don't know what I'm talking about. I know exactly what summer soldiers are. I know exactly what fair weather friends are. When you're in the lowest of lows, that's when you know who your friends are. Hey, not when everything's going great. You have all these people coming to you going, oh man, I got all kinds of things. Can you do this? Can you do that? That's what Thomas Paine. Most people don't know who he is. Some do. Everybody knows George Washington. George Washington was smart enough to know his weaknesses. He was smart enough to know when he had challenges that he was facing. And he realized that primarily the men that he had to deal with, or he had to use in his militia up and down colonies where he didn't have this, he didn't have the ability to, hey Paul, or hey John, or hey Thomas, can you guys move to the sound of the guns, right? His intent was clear enough, and his intent was, we are no longer going to be subdued by tyranny. We are going to fight for freedom. Today we want to do that in a different way. We want to fight for freedom. We want to dismiss tyranny by standing up for our beliefs. But getting back to voting, right? You have a duty to vote. It's not like, no, there's people that have given their lives so you can go and pull a lever or maybe sign your name on something that says, I vote for whoever. Presidential elections, I can tell you, the last 10 presidents, less than 70% of our voting public actually went out and voted. So a third of our country. Okay, so so put that to the side, and then you guys tell me when I need to get off the stage here, because I will go until I'm thrown off. I do want to respect the time that they have here today, and I always speak as though I will never be invited back. Yeah. So for the media, I'm looking at you.
We got about 8 more minutes.
Okay. The Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to get off the stage here, okay? The Pledge of Allegiance. I watch people, okay? I'm very, my world, this is kind of how my mind works sometimes, it's complicated. Yeah. So I'm watching people as we do the Pledge of Allegiance, and most people in here are, of an age where it's like in school, you just sort of get up, you learn it at home maybe, and you get up and you do the Pledge of Allegiance, right? And you just kind of, it's like rote. You just say it, and then it's math time, or it's English time, or it's whatever, right? In school. We rarely think about the words of the Pledge of Allegiance. Think about just that phrase, Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. It comes from a very historic time in the United States of America, after post the Civil War. It's 31 words. 31 words. Okay, it takes like 20 seconds to say. Right? 31 words. Now this nation, all you got to go do is read the Federalist Papers, read our Constitution, read the Declaration of Independence, and if you're really, really excited at 3 o'clock in the morning, read some of the history of our founders and some of the letters and books that they wrote, right? Letters that they sent home to their wives primarily, when they were in the midst of a revolution, and they knew that they were either going to be hung or shot or sent over to England to be put in prison for the rest of their lives, which many actually were. So 31 words. Our nation was built on a set of principally Christian principles, but certainly Judeo-Christian principles. I'm from a town in New England that was formed in 1639, so it's a very old town. Okay, so people argue with me about all different sorts of things. The oldest Jewish synagogue in the country is in my hometown, Toro Synagogue. I've been in it many times because I love history. And I go in there and they get all these books about that period of time, and I study a lot of stuff. But also the Christian principles, why we came to this country in the first place from the 1500s to 1600s to 1700s, and why they argued, and why they fought, and why they created what they created. Right? Read the Declaration of Independence. If you're a non-reader, it takes an average reader to read the Declaration of Independence maybe 4 minutes of your life. Most of you probably have not sat and read it. Please read it. In it, it says so many brilliant things. But the Pledge of Allegiance, right? The Pledge of Allegiance, 31 words. It took us until 1954 to actually add, because it was 29 words before 1954, to add the words under God. It took us till 1954. So when we say the Pledge of Allegiance and we say under God, right? I want you to, next time that you say it in some club or some church or wherever you're at, next time you say it, I want you to think about every single word. Because if our children understood the meaning of our Pledge of Allegiance, they truly, deeply understood it. That's why we taught it. It became sort of like who we were. But we tend to, like we do a lot of things. You say something, you don't even know what you're saying sometimes. But when they fought, 1954 it was post-World War II, Korean War still going on. It's like we're being attacked again, right? Communism, right? And so they had an argument about it in Congress, and they finally said, okay, yeah, well, under God, we'll add under God. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Because the thing that, another condition, another threat in this country is an assault on religion. An assault on religion. Okay? And last thing, the very First Amendment in our Constitution has 5 components. Okay? It's not freedom of speech. Because First Amendment, I can speak freely. I can do whatever I want to do. Well, speech is a part of it, but speech was not the most important part. The very first part of the First Amendment, and go look it up. The very first part of the First Amendment is religion, freedom of religion. Okay? It's interesting that our founders, when they did the first thing, the very first Bill of Rights, right? The first argument that they had was what needed to be said in the First Amendment, and the first thing that they said was freedom of religion. That was the argument. You read the debates that they had at that time to talk about that. It's fascinating because they were like, they didn't want to say we got to be Protestant or Catholic or whatever. They said, they argued and they studied. I can tell you, our founders were brilliant. They studied various religions in history, and they said, do we choose one? Because most of them were Christian. Do we choose one? No, because we want to have people have the opportunity to decide. That's pure freedom. Pure freedom. Okay? So we have to respect. We have to respect that, and that gives us power. That gives us power as a nation. Okay? Gives us power as a nation. And the reason why it gives us power is because you can come in here and you can hug a tree if you want. Okay? I've dealt with that in the military. And we'd be out in the firing range when we were getting ready to do live fires. Like, we got these tree huggers out there who were in the military. And we'd say, what are they? Well, that's what they're practicing their religion. We're like, all right, well, get them out of there because we're about to fire 155s. Go tell them to go get another tree. I didn't care. I didn't care. All I cared about was they loved this country. And they respected America, and they wanted to live under our constitutional system of government, the thing we call a constitutional republic. Yes, sir. Okay? When somebody tries to drive into your brain that we're in a democracy, we're not in a democracy. Right. We live under democratic principles. That's right. We live under democratic principles. We are a constitutional republic. And it's we, the people, right? The citizens. It's a citizens' republic, meaning we have to participate. If we don't participate, folks, so if you remember nothing else about what I said, you have to ask the question of yourself when you're all alone and you reflect on today, tomorrow, the next couple of days. Ask yourself, by yourself, the question, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough for my church, my community, my friends? Am I doing enough? Okay? And I'm going to tell you, if you feel good about that answer, then good for you. If you're unsure, then go find something that you can do that actually adds value to those around you. Okay? Please do that. All right. Thank you guys for the invite. It's amazing. God bless you all. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
I was after military intelligence. And here's the thing that we're talking about. This is the owner's manual for the United States. It's not a stack of 30,000 useless pages. It's the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So it's available at Turning Point USA. Do you have it, General? There you go. My gift to you. Now, what a special honor I'd like to the state for this committee. We're now going to honor the United States Army, Navy, and Marine Corps on the 250th anniversary. So we do have the bagpipers coming down. So ladies and gentlemen, in honor of the
Army, Navy, and the Marine Corps.
Hats off.
General Flynn, we have one more surprise for General Flynn here. Justin? Somebody else coming? All right, we're just waiting on Bill. Bill?
Take a seat. Take a seat. Relax. Long day.
It's been a hell of a day so far, right? Hell yeah! All right. Mr. Rosado provides the executive transportation.
Presented to General Michael Flynn, heartfelt gratitude for your exemplary leadership in honoring the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, Navy, and Marine Corps, and for your distinguished service as a military leader. Your steadfast commitment to freedom, patriotism, and the values of truth, justice inspires us all who serve every American who holds these principles dear. Thank you, General.
I'd take questions if you got one question. Come on. Oh, the Spartan sword. Oh, beautiful. Oh, my God. Come on. How do we want to do that? Yeah, this is very important. We did this the last time, too, right? Yeah. And this sword was made from the steel of the Twin Towers. And it's really fast and beautiful, just a beautiful thing. And it has saved a lot of lives of veterans who have contemplated killing themselves, okay? Contemplated suicide. It saved a lot of people through this pledge that it is dedicated to the Spartan Sword Foundation. It's really fascinating. Come on up, guys. Just get to make sure that the security guys are close. I always check some of these guys for suicide vests. Just had a little bit too much breakfast this morning. Come on over here. Come on over here. What do you want to do?
Thank you, General. God bless you for all you've done. My name is Danny Prince. I'm a retired New York City firefighter. I'm one of the custodians of the Spartan Sword and the Spartan Axe. I'm also retired military, Navy, and Coast Guard. After 9/11, when the soldiers started coming back, we go down to Walter Reed, Bethesda, Fort Belvoir, and we bring down pieces of steel that we had that was left over from making crosses, Stars of David, numbers, or letters. And we take that down, and I'd always ask the veterans, the warriors, would you want a piece? And they would pick what they want and put back what they didn't take. It was touched. So it's not only steel from 9/11, but it's steel that warriors have touched. Boone Cutler, God rest his soul, he just passed away. I met him in 2007 in Walter Reed. And myself and Steve Daniluk, we come up with the idea, why don't we make a sword from all this precious steel and go around the country talking about the suicide rate that's unacceptable with veterans. And we come up with the pledge, Boone did it, and we came up with the sword, and it goes around all over the country. It's going to Ohio on Tuesday. And I'm just so blessed to be part of this and to give back. And Kyle? All right, you. Okay. Okay, God bless you. Kyle is on the board with the Spartan Sword, and Kyle will do the pledge. If everybody would just repeat after him, and we'll do the pledge. Thank you again.
If I could, my name is Kyle Copeland, retired U.S. Army. If I could have all the veterans, first responders, please stand if you're able. This pledge is it's near and dear to my heart. Boone Cutler, he's my brother. But first and foremost, he was a brother of Christ and a brother in arms. He is truly missed, and I'm going to do my best to get through this. I made a promise to him that I will carry on his legacy and his tradition. So if y'all will please repeat after me. I will not take my life by my own hand. I will not take my life by my own hand. Until I talk to my battle buddy first. Until I talk to my battle buddy first. My mission is to find a mission. To help my warfighter family. Thank you, guys. God bless you. God bless America.
I want to say my name is Mike Barth. I'm up here with this. There's a bunch of guys from different services, a bunch of Vietnam veterans here. We talk about veteran suicide. It's still 22 a day that are passing away with all the programs we have. It's not just the younger guys. There's a bunch of Vietnam vets, and every one of these guys can tell you about guys in their 70s that are still taking their own lives for what they saw. So this is not just guys that came back a year or 2 or 3 years ago. It's guys that fought this battle and fighting it for 40 or 50 years. So it's very important to all of us, and please take that into consideration when you leave here today. Thank you.
You want to do that? I'm not going off the stage until it's done yet. Hey, the bagpipers, let's go, come on. I'm like a time Nazi, you know, let's go, come on, let's go.
We want a picture with the bagpipers with General Flynn. And then, General Flynn, we're running about 20 minutes early, so if you want to take some questions from the audience? Absolutely.
Okay? You guys are wonderful. Wonderful. What a talent.
These guys are from Scranton, Pennsylvania. What a talent.
Okay, I'll take questions. If you start to make a statement, I will cut you off. Okay, just get to the question. I'll get to as many answers as possible. Yes, sir, in the red shirt. And just yell and I'll repeat the question.
The question is,
That's okay. Just go ahead and yell because of time.
the question is the freedom of religion as opposed to the First Amendment. With the Muslims coming in their country, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm very public about Islam. Okay, Islam. All right, I've said it very publicly. I said it on Sky News Arabia. I said it on Al Jazeera. I've said it on CNN International that it is a political philosophy that hides itself because in this country we have Christians, we got Jews, we got Episcopalians, we got evangelicals, we got all kinds of, we got tree huggers, right? And what we have is we have one Constitution. Now, if you deeply, deeply follow me, I wrote a book a long time ago called Field of Fight, How to Win the War Against Radical Islam and Its Allies. And in it, I took on the Catholic Church. I'm a Catholic, okay? Born and raised a Catholic, a Democrat family, grew up in the Kennedy era, right? So Sharia law is incompatible with constitutional law.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So if you want to come to the United States of America and practice your religion, whatever you think it is or whatever you believe it to be my guest. If you come to the United States of America, all we ask is that you follow our system of government. Right? Our rule of laws. Now, if you want to get into it's about why voting and all this stuff matters. If you want to get into government, local, state, and federal, and change those things, that's our system of government. That's why people have to wake up and start participating in this country. Okay? Yes, sir.
Has your military, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's people out in the other tent, I think. Yeah.
Has your military pension been restored?
Yeah, not totally. Thank you for asking that. I hope the Department of War is listening. Yeah. They go after everything. They go after, evil. Okay? Yeah. So we just have to understand that we're up against evil. And if you understand that and you can overcome, you don't ever lose the emotion of fear, okay? But if you have enough experience, you can understand it when it begins to, seep inside of your behavior, right? And so we have to overcome fear, not lose it, because you're never going to lose it. Everybody lives with it. But if you can control fear as an emotion that we all have, then we can overcome a lot of things. Right? And so I don't fear evil. I don't fear it. I've lived it and I've lived through it, and I haven't finish fighting it. But well, I appreciate you asking that question, because they will come after every aspect of you if they don't like you, if they fear you. Okay? So, interesting question. Let's go over here. Anybody from the other side of the Pacific there? I know you come on. You guys are asking me all kinds of stuff outside. Well, hold on. I'll come to you, sir, if you don't mind. But maybe nobody from, because I love you guys, you know? I love you. And you got an interesting new leader over there.
I'm from Japan.
Oh, okay, right here. I didn't even see you. I'll come to you. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't come with them, but
Oh, okay.
I imagine you might have shared this story publicly before, but I'm wondering if you would grace us now with sharing your story of when you were first instilled with the God-given courage to fight evil and what it felt like for it to fill your spirit, to stand strong against all forms of shaming, all forms of fear, all forms of persecution. I feel like that would be very powerful to hear from you.
Yeah, and I think that emotional, thinking about my mother. I'm one of nine children. So I have 9 brothers and sisters. So the big answer to the question is it's a constant journey that we all live if you believe, right? If you believe in God, it's just this journey, because as human beings, we're on earth here, we're like super imperfect, you know, and it's like, so don't tell me that you met somebody that's perfect, because they don't exist. But I'm one of 9 children. My mother, very, very, very a wonderful, smart woman, and very, very, filled with faith. She was actually, so when I talk about being a Democrat, right, and this is an era when my mother was the head of the Right to Life movement. So she was also the head of the Democrat Party in our local area, which was a pretty big area. The head of the Democrat Party in our area, and she was the head of the Right to Life movement. That tells you how crazy things have come, right, or how things have changed. But she named all of us our first name and our middle name based on how she carried us during the term of pregnancy. That's how she decided how she was going to name us. My father had no choice. So.
Can I clarify my question?
Sure, go ahead.
What I would love to know is when you felt like your voice was so important, not like in a self-important way, but you had something to say coming directly from God, that it just needed to break through, because I feel that like when we go through these processes of... Yeah,
so let me answer the question, because I got it. I think if there was a moment for me, it was when really a woman had written me a letter, and it was one of the first letters that I had gotten when I was kind of in all this like madness that that my family and I were facing. And in the letter, she talked to me about Psalm 23. So she wrote in the letter about Psalm 23 and how she felt that I was a reflection of Psalm 23, but the entire nation was going through it. So if you know what Psalm 23 is, right, it's like, I think, yea, that I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, right? And she said in that letter that the 2 most important words were thou art, right? Thou art, meaning that there's an entity, right, that's guiding us, right? So I'm telling you that story because I was older in my life, but I've always been a good kid. I was always a good kid, an altar boy. I did whatever the priest told me to do, and you show up to I need help here on the altar, I need help in the choir, whatever, right? And I did that in the military too, actually. But that letter was given to me about close to 8 years ago. So here I am talking about it. And I've talked about that letter a number of times because it was one of the first letters that I got. And she basically was given kind of a metaphor of where the United States of America is at. So it was a really smart woman. I never met her. I wrote her back, but and she said that America is not at the edge. We're not at like the edge and about to fall off the precipice, right? She said we're in the valley of the shadow of death. And if we don't return to Christ, if we don't return to a nation that is a moral nation, we're going to lose everything. We're going to lose everything. And I think that's, to me, I've used that, I've said that, I've told that story in different ways many, many times. So, thanks for bringing it out of me again. So, yes, sir, you were going to ask a question right here. Yes, sir.
How happy was your opinion about finally getting the DEI out of the military?
It can't get out fast enough.
Yeah.
So how happy am I about getting DEI out of the military? Frankly, not just out of the military. DEI is a function of Marxism. Okay? Do not kid yourselves. So these people that try to tell you, oh no, it's just about equity or inclusivity or diversity. I mean, the military, particularly the military, is the most diverse place that you will ever find yourself. I care less if somebody's got purple with pink polka dots. If they can meet the standard and willing to dig that foxhole deeper with me, if need be, they can be there with me. So I don't need to be taught about diversity as something that I need to think about. You're already diverse, right? I mean, so, yeah, they can't move it out fast enough. And frankly, I can tell you, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, who I know and who I speak with, ever so often, fairly frequently, is trying to do his damnedest to do the job. But it's not easy because of this axis of resistance that exists in our entire government. So, ma'am, were you going to ask a question back here, or no? Maybe you were just shuffling in your seat. Yes, sir, right there. You guys tell me, watch your time here. You guys tell me when I need to finally do get off the stage. Okay?
Actually, I don't want to ask you a question. I just want to thank you and all the other men and women in the room that allow us to be here today.
Thank you.
Without you, it's because of you that we have our freedom. And God bless you and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me just kind of roll over here. Okay. Yes, sir. Right here.
Yes, General. You mentioned something that I think is really important.
I'll get to you next.
Citizen responsibility of government.
Yep.
With boundaries a bit more on that because I think it's a missing link.
Yeah. So you're asking about, what do I mean by, citizen involvement in our country, right? Well, the first thing that you can do once you become an adult, you should sign up for the Selective Service. If you don't, it's actually against the law, right? Because in a time of war, that's why we have the thing called the Selective Service. So this is beyond voting, right? Voting would be next. So once you become an adult, you got to sign up for what's called the Selective Service, right? I mean, for those of you that joined, don't matter. You did, right? Most people don't, and the government doesn't go after them. But I'm going to tell you, in a time of war, we're going to go get us the selective. If I was the president, I'd go, where's the Selective Service rolls, right? And what do we got? How many people can we put under arms right now? If our country was being assaulted by the Chinese coming over, the beaches of the Pacific, Newsom would probably welcome them in. So, yeah, with benefits. So, that's good. That's good. So, but then voting, just voting. So you don't have to go to some, event or a Tuesday night, group or whatever, or join the Rotary Club, but you better vote. Because what that gentleman just said about the sacrifices of millions of people dating back to the thousands that lost their lives when we did not have a country. We had colonies. They didn't know each other. They couldn't communicate with each other. Yet they had they had good leaders, and they had this idea that they were sick and tired of the tyranny, right? Of the yoke of tyranny. And they wanted freedom. They wanted to be done with this crown, right? I mean, responsibility. I would love to think that everybody can join the military. That's just not in everybody's DNA. It's not. I understand that. But go do something. Go do something. Yes, sir. Way in the back.
Yes, General, sir. Thank you. So, thank you for everything you do. Just one question. Probably not a lot of people are going to get it. Can you comment on 4868, and also there's a two-part question. Can you say yes or no on 1296?
I'm looking at his face in the camera there. I can add those numbers up. I really don't know. I really don't know. I thought you were going to ask me about what Comey put in seashells or something. You know, 80, right? I mean, yeah, so 86, 47. I mean, give me a break, right? Give me a break. Yes, sir, way in the back, way in the back.
Welcome home, sir.
Yeah.
I want to take a message home to my community directly from you. You know, I live in a community that's primarily Democratic. I'm the Republican with the Trump flags in my yard, and I have people that come to my house and they say, I'm afraid to put a sign in my yard. And I'm the loud voice. What is your message for us?
Well, yeah.
What is your commander's intent for me to bring back to them to say, you know what, enough's enough. Let's get our heads out of the sand. This is America, the greatest country on earth, the greatest country that I'm so proud to serve.
I mean, why not just tell them that? You know, I'll tell you, one of the things is like, you know, my phrase that I use is local action equals a national impact. So when one, primarily woman, because it's mostly women, folks, men, okay, who are single moms at home with children, and they got 2 jobs, and they got their kids trying to get them to school in the morning or whatever. They're all trying to do all these things, but they say, I'm sick of what's being taught in my school, I'm gonna go run for school board, right? I mean, I've met many of these women around the country who are like, they're like 20s, late 20s, early 30s, right? Some of them are a little bit older. And they've said, I'm sick of what's being taught in the schools. How do we get to drag queen hour in like 3rd grade? I mean, the teachers that I had beat us with sticks, and my parents would ask me, what did I do? Now, I don't condone that. I'm just saying, because I probably deserved it. But I'm just telling you, it's like, you know, a simple thing, because you can get online, and you can get free Declaration of Independence or constitutions. The government will mail you free copies, right? Or maybe some organization has them, they give piles of them. One of the nonprofits we do, we get piles of them. I sign every single one, and we hand them out, right? Go hand out a copy. Just go put it in their little mailbox. Be careful that they don't, somebody has the FBI at you or something. Or just go hand out a copy of the Constitution. It's that, literally, it's that thin, right? It's that thin document. That's it. The Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and probably the Bill of Rights are in this little thing right here. So go hand them a copy of it, right? And you know what? You're not going to be able to convince them all. You're not going to be able to convince them all. So go to those who you think you can convince. And just give it a shot. Give it your best shot, okay? Not everybody is going to join Team America, sadly. Okay? Yes, sir, right here.
As a retired military officer, what are your thoughts about our DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, now bringing forth evolving evidence that had been suppressed, that is finally bringing the truth to the American people?
Yeah, I love it. Okay, great. Dina, he's asking about what do I think about Tulsi Gabbard, the current director of national intelligence. I'm a big fan. And so Tulsi is, she's very tough. And Tulsi, the way I describe Tulsi, whether she likes it or not, and I think that she would be okay with it, Tulsi is very black and white, okay? Right or wrong. She just she sees things and she goes, common sense, right? She sees things, she says, that's not right. So we're going to fix it. She probably has, other than the President of the United States, she probably has the most difficult job in the United States government. Trust me. The scale, right? We talk about 17 intel agencies and deep state and the resistance and all this. She probably has the most difficult job other than the President of the United States. right now. We get into a physical war, then Hegseth, his role kicks in even more so. But, and hers does too. But she is very matter of fact, right? And I think that that's a good thing for her in that position right now. Is it a difficult position? You're damn right, and I cherish the relationship that I have with her because she listens and she acts, okay? And that's a good thing for that role because the person that spent the most time there his name happens to be Jim Clapper, right? Right? The lights go off now. Lights go off. Right? So Jim Clapper, and it's sad because again, back to that question about like I'm sad about what happened to our country because Jim Clapper is somebody who I know very well. I worked for him a couple of times, and they didn't turn on me. It's not about oh, I'm so sorry for what happened to you, General Flynn. I'm like, don't feel sorry for me. I don't feel sorry for myself. It's what happened to this country. These people turned on our country. And that's not me saying that. That's Tulsi Gabbard. That's the President of the United States. Now, right? I mean, these people are willing to let this country go in a direction that, speaking for myself, that I do not want it to go in. Okay, and I will, I'll do everything I can to not let that happen. Yes, sir, way in the back. You guys keep me on time. I'm looking for the clock guys.
Last one.
Okay, last one. Yes, sir.
General Flynn, could you please comment on the issue about Israel and even on the right there's some division of people trying to divide the support for Israel?
Okay, so your question is about Israel and what's going on, kind of just a big broader picture about there's this debate right now about Israel and
like Jim Buntes was strongly against Israel, but why?
Well, first of all, you cannot make peace with a terrorist organization. Okay, so if President Trump is listening. I want him to make sure that, that he understands that you cannot make peace with these terrorists designated by our country, terrorist organizations who they want to destroy you, right? And again, this is not something that I'm just like, I studied in a book, okay? I spent many, many years fighting these people and studying them and understanding them and speaking to them, capturing them, and caught it, and speaking to them. So this is not just something that I'm making up. So you can't make peace with them. What you're seeing on the streets of America, especially through the colleges, I was showing these guys earlier this morning about it was either last night in New York City or it was this morning. It was like the last 24 hours. A gigantic Palestinian flag, like a gigantic one, huge, covered the whole street, and they're marching down the street, thousands of people, right, for Palestine. And I zoom in, I look for things, right? I look for things, not the flag, part of it. I zoom in, and I'm looking at these people that are carrying the flag, right? And they're like white, young. They probably have a PhD, which means in my hometown, it's a papa that has dough, okay? And I'm looking at these kids and I'm thinking to myself, how did they get so brainwashed, right? The people that, as they give up the hostages, as they turn hostages over, which I don't know, standing here today, have they given them all back yet, sadly? They're over there chanting from the river to the sea, even though it's a peace deal, right? A peace agreement. For anybody that's paid any close attention to the Middle East for years, and I have, how many peace agreements have we had? Right? And shaking hands like this, so you get all the president and leaders from Egypt or whatever country or Lebanon or Syria, they all get together and they shake hands like this. It's a peace agreement forever. Lasting peace in the Middle East. So, it's my last answer here. I am a soldier, okay? I have fought at least 5 years of my military career in direct combat operations overseas. I've seen People died. I felt sacrifice. Had to meet with, primarily wives and children. And so I do not believe in war. I'm not like, okay, you're a general. I mean, it's the last thing I want, right? And so peace is set, in history, peace is the aberration, war is the norm. Our country's been at war since 2001, right? Actually, if you really go back in time and you look at history, which I'm a student of it, and war is the norm. Yeah. We have to constantly demand that our leaders in this country, in the United States of America, like Trump wants to be the peace president, right? He wants to be the peace president. But there's these vultures that circle, okay? If you people really truly knew how much money we give to other countries around the planet, and we've got, 50, 60, 70,000 just homeless vets, right? Never mind other problems we have in this country. If you knew how many vultures circle around the Oval Office in Washington, D.C., they're not going to go to war, right? That want to spend your money, my money, taxpayer dollars on things that do not matter to this country, okay? And people will go, well, we need to have these, we need to strengthen our alliances, we need to do this, we need to do that overseas, right? I'm all for trade, I'm all for engagement, right? Partner engagement, allied, building alliances, strengthening friendships. I am so against the war in Europe right now, like Ukraine and Russia. I'm just against it, because I know there are solutions for that. So this business of Europe, with your more specific question about, this big time propaganda, and so both sides, the Islamic side and the Israeli side, it's not the Israeli people, but it's the Israeli government itself. There's like a branding problem, and we seem to be going in this country in a direction that is a little different. It's concerning to me. It's concerning to me, right? So I just, where do I stand on this? I'm not. It's kind of a wait and see. I'm not totally where the president is right now on this peace agreement, particularly in the Middle East. If okay, so if Qatar, and they listen to the things I say, okay, Iran, the regime in Iran listens to everything that I say. But if there's going to be true peace, then you've got to shut down Hamas, you got to shut down Hezbollah, and you got to shut down the Houthis. Okay? You got to shut them down. Like, no more. They will not exist. I know. I got to get off this thing. They will not exist anymore. Then we can start to have. Then people can actually maybe rebuild and spark tourism in the Gaza Strip along one of the most beautiful coastlines on the planet there in the Eastern Mediterranean. I mean, but that's not what these isms want. Okay? So, whatever. Hopefully you'll invite me back. See you, folks. Bye.
Presentation. There's only one song that we could play, sung by